Feel so good 素敵なアフタヌーンプラチナみんな Yeah 固めて転がす I love you いつでも smile for you 君だけにラブ Hey so 頑張らなくちゃお揃いの T シャツ、hey! 手編みのマフラーと、oh yeah! ハートウォーミン目白押し
started. I just started. Thank you so much for the raid, Just Harder. Thank you. How's your stream? Welcome, raiders. Welcome. I am Shanala the Cerberus, 3 heads and 3 brain cells. I'm going to be working on a little bit of art today. I'm redrawing myself as that dog at the doorbell meme. He goes, bop, 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 bop. And welcome. Let me get you a shout out.
This right here is my favorite thing ever. In the history of forever. I think about this every day. I think about this all night long. I stay awake, not sleeping, because I'm thinking about this.
Proceeded to kill 80 zombies with a baseball bat without getting hurt. Oh, nice. Project Zomboid. I think I asked you about what that was before, but remind me, because I don't remember. I forgot. What is Project Zomboid? Also took on a horde by myself for the bet. Nice.
And hey, 2 thumbs.
Oh my gosh, I just started. It's already getting too hot in my room. It's too hot. Bobbert the Demon Fox, thank you so much for following. Welcome to the Hounds. Thank you. Top-down zombie game. Bite is a death sentence, and it's pretty hard if you get caught in the wrong place. Ooh. Is it like a twin stick shooter kind of game? Survival game, really? Guns are a bad idea, but they're in the game. Oh yeah, they probably, guns probably make a lot of noise and draw a lot of zombie attention. It's a base building system, but it's hard to figure out. It's also multiplayer. Oh, that might be fun with other people. I'll have to check it out.
た寝転んだ空見て落ち着きを取り戻した眺めてた目に入れた空にかぶ月が眩しかった
How do you decide what color your alignment goes?
でかくした育んだ大きな綺麗な星にしたよゲラ頑張った努力したありったけの力を出し切ったよ危機感を感じ立ち上がる心の壁を取り払い自由なマインドと溢れるソウル
No, wait.
スピリットを心に宿した
I want.
力を
What
合
do
わ
I
せて頑
want?
張
I
る
want
みんな
a.
で一つのことを成し遂げるためにお互いを褒めたたいた今までより一回り大きくなった
I guess I just want an outline.
ネガティブな話題を口にするな辛くても進むことをやめるんじゃないピースなバイブレ
Does
ーショ
my
ン
camera
がアー
say
トを描
control? I
き
thought I changed it.
このアースに負けないオブジェを作れチゲだファンキーだみんな黙って俺についてこい
Nah, I should be fixed now. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know.
必死で俺についてこいカモンチゲだファンキーだみんな黙って
My
俺について
Tom
こ
Bar,
い
welcome in. Welcome.
チゲだ
How you
ファン
doing?
キーだみんな必死で俺についてこいカモンチゲだ
Vivish, and I'll explain to the multiple federal agents outside their home that there are approximately 17 pipe bombs. That they need approximately 17 pipe bombs. But I'm the one outside the home. He's like, night, you're tired and hot. Alright, Haru, thank you for the raid. Have a good night. I hope you can keep cool. I know it's too hot here too. You doing okay? Popping in for a bit before sleep? Oh, okay. I appreciate it. Why is it all bumpy? You can make it glowy.
ひだまりさんさん心は晴れ模様二つの瞳はひまわりの種のよう働い
Hi, doggy.
Link, welcome in. How you doing?
切ない思いが募るの抱きしめた想いは夜空を舞い急降下してあなたのもとへよろりろりさ諦めないでよねよろりろりさたまには電話してよろりろりさ会いたいよ今すぐよろりろりさため息が一つ浮かばれる来月またあの場所で待ち合わせしようかよろりろりさ立ち止まらないでねよろりろりさ思い出してよねよろりろりさ待ってられないのねよろりろりささあ前を向いていこう
Is this one really that much further away from the middle? Oops. Why is that so much closer to this horn than the other one? That is definitely centered where it should be. Yeah, but then the rings going to this side are going to have to be huge to reach. I don't understand perspective. I don't understand. What if I do this? Shark-sided, hello, hello. How you doing today? Super well today. Rainy day. Oh, I wish I had rain. I would love a little bit of rain here. Just a schmeckle of rain, as it should. I don't know how I'm gonna get these rings both be centered and both like connected. I think it's, you know what, it's probably because this like whole right side is so much further away from the nose than the left.
広いとこは嫌い狭いのが好きあなたとほら甘く切ない塊巻き込んでくっついてあやか固まって星降る街で今宵二人結ばれるの頭にまんまで必じゃないすまき込み頭にまんまでラララ酔わせて王子頭にまんまで必じゃないすまき込み頭にまんまでラララ酔わせて王子
What the dog doing?
What the dog doing? Hello, Killian. I'm working on some art today. Working on a little bit of art. Yep, working on a meme. I can't do any real art. I'm not good enough to do any real art, so I'm making a meme. I wonder if I could get away with listening to the Cats Don't Dance soundtrack. Or if that's gonna get me nuked. It wasn't Disney, so presumably I think. They probably get muted on the Twitch audio. And it definitely get a copyright claim on YouTube. So I probably should. But I want to. Everyone to have half the fun that I'm having. I wanna listen to why'd the outline get so ugly when I copied it? Weird. If I move it, the outline gets scrambly. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Good enough. Good enough. See. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's go. Make these the Oh, you off my lack of sleep is wrong? Oh, okay, Little Bear. Thanks for stopping in. Have a good night. Good enough for me. Yeah, maybe I'll make this just one head. I wanted to make it all 3 heads, but maybe I'll make it just one head. Three heads is going to be a lot more work, and the perspective on them is like weird. I think this is done. Now we can work on the open mouth version. Where's open? I want to play Rhythm Heaven Fever, but this stage makes me nervous. You have to have such good timing. I do not have good timing. Rhythm, that's what it's called. No, I ain't got rhythm. I'm also tone deaf. I don't know what I want to listen to. I know what I want to listen to, but it's gonna get me muted and copywritten. I want to listen to Gorillas, but I can't. What happened?
Dracolian cheered X250.
Jukilian, thank you for the 250 bits. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. Lay down your arms, give up the fire. Just hang on. You can't tell me this doesn't sound like 21 Guns. Lay down your arms, give up the fire. Right? Like that sounds like 21 Guns, doesn't it? Listen. It's not just me, right? That opening tune sounded like 21 Guns from Green Day. It sounds it's 21 guns. It absolutely is 21 guns.
Oh, yeah.
Flash Drive 02 just resubscribed for 11 months. Shinnel Dance, Shinnelpog, Shinnelbeans Fire. This is fine fire.
Flash Drive, thank you for the 11 months. Oh my gosh, almost a year. Wow, thank you so much. Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you. I don't know what I want to listen to. This should be listened to.
Video games dating back to their earliest days have been modeled on the basic structure of trial and error. A task is given to the player with the expectation that the individual will use all tools available to eventually find a solution, outlast the enemies, save the princess, solve the puzzle, get the banana, whatever the case may be. And hey, if you fail, not the biggest deal, man. Just insert another quarter, press continue, and try again. You might even consider this entire process of playing a video game as testing out different tactics and strategies until something works, you find success, and you can progress to the next level with all the knowledge you have gained. Now, zooming out a little bit from this structure, in the abstract, it almost sounds like work. What if I told you that that formula is kind of the blueprint for today's villain? I mean, someone or something could easily exploit this cold ladder of advancement in the very structure of our games to doom us to perpetual testing purgatory. Well, in that rough idea lies the genius of the Portal series developed by Valve, the masterful marriage of video game structure, scientific advancement, and dark humor into one lonely, sterile, heartfelt, cryptic yet straightforward, and challenging pair of video games that are guaranteed to make you feel, make you think, and make you laugh. And as I alluded to, it's also the perfect setting for a memorable evildoer or two or three. Well, my friends, today's episode of the Villainpedia is all about GLaDOS, the antagonist from this now legendary series. A sadistic, cruel, and damn charming artificial intelligence whose very code compels her to test.
You must really, really love to test. I love it too.
Of course, strictly in the name of science, and after that test, how about just one more? And then maybe a few more until her subject has failed, died, and joined the growing pile of victims. And her current test subject is, of course, you. You are her game, her current experiment. So really quick, I have to make a note here about the pronunciation of this character's name. I personally have always said GLaDOS, kind of like OS, operating system. And I know many people say GLaDOS, but the name itself is never said in-game. Some developer commentary is all we really have to go on, and there you have people saying GLaDOS and GLaDOS. And then the voice actress of the character herself says GLaDOS, so look, I don't know. Don't get too hung up on it, man. Just say it however you want. There seems to be no consistency on the matter. But GLaDOS is far more than just a cold, uncaring testing machine. I don't think I would be going out on a limb here by saying she has become one of the shining pillars of video game antagonism in recent years, and surprisingly boasts one of the more interesting and tragic origin stories to date in my Villainpedia series. And beyond just that, I mean, you got artificial intelligence, power, progress, control, the ghost in the shell, what it means to be alive, to feel. GLaDOS is a vehicle for so many potent narratives that I just know this video is going to be a ton of fun. But before we get started, I just want to take this moment to thank all of my awesome patrons who helped me out so much by supporting the channel away from the tyranny of YouTube. You're all beautiful people. And I also really want to just thank everyone at large
to mention,
for helping me reach 100,000 subscribers recently. That number is still ridiculous to me. I don't take it for granted
donation
whatsoever.
goal.
Hope you know that. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I am Ghost, your host as always.
Probably before the end of the year.
GLaDOS? What does her name
to help
stand
take
for?
care of
What
my
is her
mom.
end game? And how does she eventually end up stuck in a potato?
So
Let's go ahead.
If
and dive
anyone feels
with any
like there's
character
a
we talk
kind
about
enough
here
to
on this
donate,
channel, you gotta begin, of course, with the lore.
Of course,
the
you don't
background.
have to.
Now, to be fully transparent, Portal lore contradicts
But I would be
itself
very
in places.
appreciated.
Retcons were made between the games, and other external sources of information kind of complicate things. So everything you hear in this section will honestly just be my interpretation of the chronology of all of this lore. Well, naturally, our story begins with a man named Cave Johnson and his dream to produce shower curtains back in the 1940s. Hey, I can hear you. Don't laugh. This is no joke. I'm not kidding at all. Shower curtains, baby. Now bear with me here, all right? Sounds crazy. It's all gonna make a lot more sense soon. So Cave Johnson is a fascinating character in his own right, and really the most vital part of the entire plot of Portal. He is the founder of and force behind Aperture Science, the big research corporation that acts as the setting here in game.
Cave Johnson here, introducing the consumer version of our most popular military-grade product.
Hello.
The turret. How do we get so many bullets in them? Like this. Plus, we fire the whole bullet. That's 65% more bullet per bullet.
Now, unfortunately, our boy Cave is long dead by the time Portal actually takes place, but his posthumous villainy and ruthlessness is just about everywhere you look. But we will get to all of that and how it relates to GLaDOS in due time. For now, shower curtains, alright? So why shower curtains? Look, I don't know, but I mean someone's gotta make them, right? So Cave one day woke up and said, why not me? Well, Cave Johnson was an enterprising man, and he sought deals with big fish, namely the main branches of the armed forces. You see, he wanted to become the shower curtain supplier to America's finest, and so eventually he was. He became a billionaire on these contracts and quickly rose up the food chain of American business.
How you doing today?
But let's be honest here, shower curtains were only ever meant to be the launching pad, and Cave had much bigger things on his mind. Next, he purchased a massive salt mine in northern Michigan, and inside of it, deep under the earth, built a subterranean research facility and headquarters for Aperture. Once this place was complete, he pivoted his corporation sharply away from shower curtains and toward, what else but experimental physics. Now that's quite a change of pace if I do say so myself, and I don't think it's a stretch to say they probably had to do a little bit of rehiring, don't you think? Now speaking of rehiring, today's video is sponsored by LinkedIn.
Psych!
Nah, it's not, I'm just kidding. This video is not sponsored by anybody. So in that following decade, Aperture reached new heights. They entered the science business with a boom. They won awards for their research and sat firmly on the cutting edge of the industry, developing and testing everything from household products to military-grade tech and beyond. But one of the most intriguing projects being the quantum tunneling device, which would eventually evolve into Portal technology. Big things were happening at Aperture. But let's be honest, science can be a rather competitive and fickle field, and throughout the 1960s, Aperture would begin to seriously lag behind its rival company, Black Mesa. Now, if that sounds familiar to you, you probably know them from the Half-Life series as the employer of a certain famous silent protagonist physicist. And I just think it's so cool that these two Valve properties happen kind of simultaneously between warring corporations. I wish they still made games, son. What the hell are they doing? Gabe, get it together. Now, in many ways, the story of Portal and everything that occurs here is about corporate mismanagement of assets and a lot of malpractice. So as Cave saw his company finishing second to Black Mesa across the board, he began to cut corners, something he had absolutely already been doing from the jump because this guy is a total scuzzbag, but now at a dizzying and dangerous rate, abandoning morality totally for progress. The company, in Cave's words, once had war heroes, retired astronauts, Olympians, volunteering to act as test subjects. But now, Aperture was having to answer for some of these treasured individuals going missing and even turning to experimenting things on their own employees as volunteer lists grew shorter. Weird stuff too, like putting praying mantis DNA inside of people and firing invisible lasers at subjects to turn their blood to gasoline, just for shits and giggles. So as that gap widened between Aperture and its competitor, things just declined exponentially. Work conditions were worsening, and Cave was becoming more and more ruthless and disconnected from reality by the day. But all this time, from the very first steps into the scientific field to the company's boom of success and then eventual decline, one person remained at Cave Johnson's side. Unwavering, intelligent, patient, his most treasured assistant, confidant, and I would say friend, who Cave lovingly referred to as the backbone of the company.
That eager voice you heard is the lovely Carolyn, my assistant. Isn't that right, Carolyn?
Yes, sir, Mr. Johnson.
Carolyn was fiercely loyal to Cave and to Aperture. Regardless of what occurred within the test chambers, she was, again in Cave's words, married to science. Well, her loyalty was certainly tested in 1968 when Aperture declared bankruptcy and then started stealing homeless people off the street to test stuff on, and eventually even orphans, mental patients, and the elderly. Good lord, Cave, my boy, where is the line? But still, through all of that and worse, Carolyn held on strong. It was painfully obvious that Aperture needed a breakthrough, a big winner, a new product to show the world it could get back on top. And there was still one very, very promising project in the pipeline, the quantum tunneling device. You guessed it. This obviously was revolutionary stuff, potentially world-changing, but remained imperfect. You see, the surface for a portal to kind of take was something that Cave just couldn't get right. Plain concrete was serviceable, but more complex terrain always proved to be completely unstable and unsafe. But in the midst of Aperture's struggles, Cave discovered that of all things, moon rocks held a potential solution to that roadblock. If converted into a sort of silicate gel, paint, or goo, one could splash some of this substance down just about anywhere and have a habitable area for a portal. Perfect, in fact. So with additional news that Black Mesa was now hot on the portal tech trail, Cave had to move quickly. So bankruptcy be damned, he went out and purchased $70 million worth of moon rocks. Now, something that the company absolutely could not afford, but it was a boom or bust move to say the least. Then in the early 1980s, Cave began experimenting on these rocks himself, doing everything he could to beat Black Mesa to the punch and develop this tech at all costs. But unfortunately for Cave Johnson, that cost would be his health. Working with this stuff caused severe poisoning from the moon dust, affecting his lungs and brain badly.
I don't know.
Guess what? Roundup moon rocks are pure poison. I am deathly ill. Still, it turns out they're a great portal conductor. So now, we're going to see if jumping in and out of these new portals can somehow leach the lunar poison out of a man's bloodstream. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Carolyn, please bring me more pain pills.
That illness would only worsen with time until he was deemed terminal. And really quick, for some real-life science, moon dust can absolutely and easily kill you. During the Apollo 17 mission, astronaut Harrison Schmitt reportedly inhaled a tiny bit of dust that he tracked back into the living module and was ill for days to weeks. This just from like the tiniest fragments that stuck to his damn boot. So it's estimated that a small scoop of moon dust would be toxic enough to kill like 90% or more of lung and brain cells exposed to it. This is because, of course, the moon has little to no atmosphere to protect its surface from the radiation of the sun, meaning all the particles here have a crazy electrostatic charge and can really easily accumulate in airways and even in the brain. They're also super duper small but abrasive, kind of like crushed glass. This stuff is more toxic than my ex-girlfriend, boys. So Cave Johnson all of a sudden was looking at the end of his life, and being a scientific mogul and egomaniac did the only thing that made any sense. Attempted to build a supercomputer to upload his consciousness into, living forever and leaving his pathetic diseased body behind. And that project would be called Genetic Lifeform and Disk Operating System, GLaDOS. And it was Cave's last hope. But he seemingly knew that it might not get done in time.
I will say this, and I'm gonna say it on tape so everybody hears it 100 times a day. If I die before you people can pour me into a computer, I want Carolyn to run this place. Now she'll argue. She'll say she can't. She's modest like that, but you make her. Hell, put her in my computer, I don't care.
Now I gotta mention, there's a very, very interesting new Portal game for free on the Steam Deck. I don't have one, I just watched the thing on YouTube, but you get to meet a giant head-shaped computer, which indeed has a limited version of Cave Johnson's consciousness inside of it. But for the purposes of this being a video about GLaDOS, let's just stick with the fact that it was not completed in time for Cave to be uploaded, and Cave Johnson died sometime in the 1980s. So that left everything here to fall on the shoulders of Carolyn, the long-standing, steady hand of Cave Johnson. The loyal, patient, scientifically minded assistant was now set to take over operations of Aperture and would eventually be the genetic life form component of the GLaDOS project, ensuring that the facility would be watched over far into the future and the portal technology would be properly tested, developed, and released ahead of Black Mesa. Alright, so a really important question here regarding Carolyn. Do you, viewer, think that she was willingly uploaded into this computer? Was she prematurely, I guess you could call it, physically killed in that process? Was she excited at this prospect? Was she all about Cave's vision and wanted to be an eternal sentient machine? No one knows for sure, I suppose. However, cut voice lines from the game and some of the pre-recorded materials in Portal 2 you come across feature Carolyn very clearly stating,
Mr. Johnson, Mr. Johnson, I don't want this. I don't want this. I am. No, listen to me. Sir, I do not want this.
Now listen, of course, unused content cannot be considered part of the story because, well, it just ain't. Didn't make it in there. But it can be considered possibly the intention of the writers regarding GLaDOS' origin, at least at some point in development. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if they just felt these lines were a little too on the nose, or they wanted to leave Carolyn's thoughts on the matter more up for fan interpretation and discussion. But I personally kind of choose to believe that this was Carolyn's threshold for Cave's bullshit right here. She had no interest in being uploaded, becoming meshed with a computer, and essentially ending her life. Cave himself was a brutal man. He didn't care about anything except progress and beating the competition. He killed volunteers, employees, and probably friends alike with reckless abandon. He hardly seemed to give a shit that he was dying, other than it just annoyed him because he couldn't continue his research. So I think that there is very little to suggest Carolyn was anything but a sweet, devoted scientist who happened to be serving a madman, in that she is really kind of the first victim of all of this. Now, before we continue at all, I want to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence and the themes kind of being explored here with this character. So, of course, you know, this is nothing new. The human construction of a simulated consciousness, or the transfer of a human mind into a machine, these things have been pillars of science fiction since the genre was popularized in the early 20th century. Dating back to stories like The Infinite Brain by John Scott Campbell, published in 1930, where an inventor, as he's dying, constructs a machine to act as his duplicate in all ways, replacing himself, mimicking the electronic pathways and cores of personality that made up that man. Or, in 1956, Arthur C. Clarke's novel The City and the Stars features the inhabitants of a city kind of uploaded as patterns of information in the central computer of that city, creating a massive kind of communal experience and database. But since those early days, there have been hundreds of explorations of this phenomenon. What might happen to the human mind if it were married with machine? Would the lack of a physical form change the being to no longer be human at all? Does the computer have an inherent, albeit rather dull, personality that the human mind would have to contend with? Would you just go insane? Would it be bliss, freedom, expanses of knowledge without the cravings of the human body? Obviously, it's a lot of fun to talk and think about, right? Gladly, I don't think I'm gonna live long enough to have myself uploaded to anything, thank you very much. But let's remember here that GLaDOS is a villain, by and large, spawned from the hubris of Cave Johnson and his docile assistant Carolyn. So we'll get back to the lore in a minute, but it's obvious that things didn't go according to plan, right? I don't think anyone envisioned her becoming a killing machine. So then, is this Carolyn, as she was as a human, angry, insane, in charge of GLaDOS, or perhaps Carolyn is gone, buried in the depths of the machine and the sinister programming is all that remains? We'll get to it, who knows, but it's a fascinating take on what might happen in this sort of scenario. These themes are going to keep popping up in the video, but I just want to mention them here so they're all in your head.
Magically transformed into their OCs.
So imagine for me, if you will, being one of these scientists working on the GLaDOS project.
Sword Art
Your
Online
insane, abusive boss is dead from moonrock poisoning, and now you had to spend years putting his really nice, sweet assistant unwillingly into his computer. It's pretty strange resume material, that's for sure, but upon the first activation, you would probably be expecting something at least resembling the Carolyn you knew. Patient, smart, science-first type of woman. I mean, maybe that is what they got, but definitely not in the way they all expected. But regardless, this was probably a pretty big moment for Aperture. This was a massive project, years in the making, so GLaDOS was set to be activated as part of the celebrations of Bring Your Daughter to Work Day, which, holy smokes, is the worst fucking idea in the history of America. And upon waking up, unsurprisingly, was incredibly hostile, violent, and immediately self-aware. Within microseconds, she locked down the facility and started funneling deadly neurotoxin into it, killing untold amounts of people, probably several daughters included. GLaDOS was shut off, but the damage was done. The remaining staff had to come to grips with what they were dealing with here. Something was deeply unstable within this project. So work had to be done to fine-tune GLaDOS a bit, and after being set up with various personality cores, her behavior was altered to be slightly more agreeable. But the major key here was the morality core, which attempted to give GLaDOS a conscience. When powered back on, she appeared to be as pleasant as possible.
Since the installation of my new morality core, I've lost all interest in killing. Now I only crave science.
Though she still did not resemble Carolyn, in the slightest. GLaDOS is behaving rather well and anticipating another work holiday known as Bring Your Cat to Work Day. She is somehow able to convince her staff that she would like to mark the occasion by conducting a little friendly experiment, and all she needs,
A little neurotoxin.
and for some godforsaken reason, she is granted this power, and in the name of science, of course, immediately locks down the facility again, flooding it with neurotoxin and killing pretty much everyone else, at last taking total control of Aperture. Now, it is pretty funny that GLaDOS wants to conduct this experiment on Bring Your Cat to Work Day, as this is an obvious nod and kind of Easter egg regarding the famous thought experiment known as Schrodinger's cat. It is meant to illustrate a paradox of quantum superposition, where when the toxin is released within the closed box, that cat may be dead, alive, both or neither, until it is exposed to the observer and that superposition collapses into one of the two possible states. It's interesting, if not concerning stuff for GLaDOS to be thinking about, and proof that she does not view human death as anything to really give a shit about if it's simply part of an experiment. So now, with much of the staff either deceased or captured by GLaDOS for her portal tech testing, things were pretty firmly under her control. From her physical position in the central AI chamber, she had a rather generous amount of power over the entire facility and all of the endless corridors constructed for testing deep under the surface of Michigan. So I know from reading all of my comments on my channel that a lot of the viewers here are pretty practical thinkers. They like to poke holes in the narratives of the video games and say, why didn't the guy just do this or do that? So you might be wondering, critical thinkers, where are the cops? I mean, all of these people who work at this hugely famous science company are suddenly missing. I would estimate, thousands and thousands of people and some of their daughters? Well, let me tell you, across the yard at Black Mesa, some things happen to be going down at this exact moment in time. The events of Half-Life 1. Yeah, that's taking place. Now this, to say the very least, is taking the limelight away from Aperture. A resonance cascade resulting in extraterrestrial monsters charging into our realm. Yeah, that's gonna be a bigger deal than just a rogue computer underground gassing some people, right? So the timing is certainly on GLaDOS' side here as well. She's kind of free to now use this stock of employees and stashed subjects to test and test and test and test as long as she can. Now, there are some interesting other things happening behind the scenes here with these events, with a certain rogue schizophrenic scientist, but we will circle back to that later on. For now, it is finally time to get to the events of Portal 1. Now, in many ways, I would say the first Portal game feels a bit like a tech demo, a proof of concept and setting that sets the stage for Portal 2, which is a much larger game in scope and narrative by far, but that does not diminish the masterclass of game design we have here in the original whatsoever. So we have to ask that question now. What is GLaDOS doing here in Portal? Why are we opposed? Well, of course,
Pissed
she
Green
is
Link
testing.
says, where is
It is
your
her sole
passport,
goal to do
GLaDOS?
so, to conduct science.
Where
Now,
is your
given
passport,
everything we have just
GLaDOS?
covered and learned together, you might think this is in an effort to improve the Portal technology and then
GLaDOS.
get ready to release the product to the world, but brother, plans have changed. The humans who would be
Makes it
benefiting
sound like
from that
GLaDOS
are
is,
long
air
gone.
freshener.
Plus, the Black Mesa incident already made Aperture the winners. Competition was no longer an issue. But GLaDOS, having been testing in that mission constantly, became addicted to the very process. You see, a small bloop of satisfaction was programmed to release, a drop of digital dopamine whenever one of her tests were completed. This created an endless feedback loop of perpetual testing long after all the practical benefits
Have you heard
fell
of
away.
Totally
And
Pointless
GLaDOS,
TV?
being
He does
unhinged,
videos like
sadistic
these, and they're
son of a
really good too.
bitch,
You might
is
like them.
exhausting
Oh,
her stock of human
I'll have to
beings
check 'em out.
doing just that. Stretching that feedback loop as far as she
You want to put a
possibly
link to
can,
them in
thoroughly
the
enjoying
Discord
herself
zip?
as the bodies pile up. So who then are you? Well, you wake up as Chell, a female test subject having been kept in a
I
relaxation
do have a
vault.
Discord,
And it is
everybody,
a
if you want to
robotic,
join.
monotone voice
There's not a
that
whole lot
rouses
happening in there right now. It's mostly just for my going live announcements, and there's a channel for all the streamers in there. When they go live, it'll automatically post. We have a little bit of chatting going on in there, but not a whole lot. It's pretty low key right now, but I would like to get it more active.
Enrichment Center activities. Serious injuries may occur. For your own safety,
I've been having trouble streaming Monster Hunter Rise lately. It's giving me like weird crashes and errors and stuff. So maybe we'll do, maybe I'll like start doing Monster Hunter Rise nights in
You have the misfortune of
Discord.
being next on her list, and
That would be a good way
you
to
begin
start
the
getting it a
trials.
little bit
She
more
starts
active,
you
I
off
think.
nice and slow, encouraging you and introducing the mechanics of the test chambers and the portal gun gradually. But as you progress, what at first seems like a pre-recorded, colorless, boring voice begins to show spots of personality, and I would say malintent.
Now that you are in control of both portals, this next test could take a very, very long time. If you become lightheaded from thirst, feel free to pass out. An intubation associate will be dispatched to revive you with peptic salve and adrenaline.
Under the guise of system errors and chamber malfunctions, GLaDOS tests you in increasingly sinister ways. Totally cool with you dying in the process, she doesn't give a shit. And that overly robotic voice, over time, deteriorates little by little.
All subjects intending to handle high-energy gamma-leaking portal technology must be informed that they may be informed of applicable regulatory compliance issues. No further compliance information is required or will be provided, and you are an excellent test subject.
So of course, your promised reward for finishing is twofold. Grief counseling, that's very ominous, and cake. Those two things certainly sound like a fine afternoon, GLaDOS, but I am beyond skeptical. Now, I just have to say, overall, there is an extremely unsettling atmosphere, specifically in Portal 1. You notice all these little observation rooms with glass windows where it seems scientists at one point sat chatting with their cups of coffee and notepads out, but they are all obviously empty. All there seems to be is security cameras that very coldly follow your every move. And just the white lighting, the voice of GLaDOS, it all makes you feel tremendously alone, yet closely observed, and really like a lab rat. And impressively, there are multiple layers and tactics of villainy at work here. Reverse psychology, manipulation, abuse of power, deception, and she is very delicately handling you, making sure to not address you too personally or give away at all that she is a little more sentient than she appears. There's just so many great, cruel, subtle moments, like the infamous chamber with the companion cube.
2, 1.
What was it? I already forgot. 1370?
This weighted companion cube will accompany you through the test chamber. Please take care of it. The symptoms most commonly produced by enrichment center testing are superstition, perceiving inanimate objects as alive, and hallucinations. The enrichment center reminds you that the weighted companion cube will never threaten to stab you and, in fact, cannot speak. You did it. The weighted companion cube certainly brought you good luck. However, it cannot accompany you for the rest of the test and, unfortunately, must be euthanized.
She, using her masterful reverse psychology, gets you to feel attached to a stupid box and then forces you to destroy it to continue. It's just so good. And it gets more extreme as you go along. When you get to Chamber 16, GLaDOS has this to announce.
Due to mandatory scheduled maintenance, the appropriate chamber for this testing sequence is currently unavailable. It has been replaced with a live fire course designed for military androids. The Enrichment Center apologizes for the inconvenience and wishes you the best of luck.
So we very quickly go from getting little boxes and feeling good about how smart we are to sentry turrets shooting to kill. This, as before, make no mistake, is not an error or any planned chamber maintenance, and it is no coincidence that in this very chamber you come across a shocking discovery. The first signs of another person, a human. The scrawl of a madman perhaps, but legible words and arrows and signs. The most harrowing being the blood-red help on the floor and the repeated phrase on the wall, "The cake is a lie." I figured as much. These are the work of a particular scientist known as Doug Ratman, a survivor of the neurotoxin attack that escaped into the walls, battling his own mental illness and paranoia. He is actually the one responsible for Chell being selected as the most recent test subject, but we will get to that towards the very end of the video.
Welcome to the final test. When you are done, you will drop the device in the Equipment Recovery Annex. Enrichment Center regulations require both hands to be empty before any cake.
Now, as you near the conclusion of the 19 chambers, when you've successfully overcome all these obstacles and you're getting ready for that sweet-ass moist chocolate cake, well, what did you really expect?
Congratulations. The test is now over. All Aperture technologies remain safely operational up to 4,000 degrees Kelvin. Rest assured that there is absolutely no chance of a dangerous equipment malfunction prior to your victory incandescence. Thank you for participating in this Aperture Science computer-aided enrichment activity. Goodbye. What are you doing? Stop it. Hi. We are pleased that you made it through the final challenge where we pretended we were going to murder you. We are very, very happy for your success. We are throwing a party in honor of your tremendous success. Place the device on the ground, then lie on your stomach with your arms at your sides. A party associate will arrive shortly to collect you for your party. Make no further
How am I
attempt
gonna
to
color
leave the
this?
testing area. Assume the party escort submission position or you will miss the party.
Now do note that little bit she said about assuming the position on the floor, and the party escort bot will be along to claim you, because that is very important in just 1 minute. But when you are able to escape her loop of testing, for the first time, we can hear GLaDOS stumble in her little robotic act. She reveals herself fully as this sort of villainous presence, and now the chase is on. You are in the very skeleton of the facility, behind walls in control rooms themselves, and you find more and more signs of this Ratman. His notes, his path is the one that you follow. And all the while, GLaDOS is calling out to you, wondering where you are and why you're being so mean to her.
What are you doing? You haven't escaped, you know. You're not even going the right way. Hello? Is anyone there? Somebody cut the cake. I told them to wait for you, but they cut it anyway. There is still some left, if you hurry back. Though, remember when the platform was sliding into the fire pit and I said goodbye, and you were like, no word. That was great.
It's really in these moments of panic and concern that you can see the true villain come forward, sarcastic, snarky, hilarious, and dreadfully evil.
This is your fault. It didn't have to be like this. I'm not kidding now. Turn back, or I will kill you. I'm going to kill you. And all the cake is gone. You don't even care, do you?
But for me anyway, there's still something oddly sweet about her. I don't know, it's like the cadence and the way she sometimes says hello or hi before she speaks. I always, from the beginning, kind of pity GLaDOS. It's like I'm hearing that lost part of Carolyn way deep down in there or something. It's just so masterfully written and acted and edited. But at last, you locate the central AI chamber itself, and inside, we finally get to come face to face with the star of the show.
Well, you found me. Congratulations. Was it worth it? Because despite your violent behavior, the only thing you've managed to break so far is my heart. Maybe you could settle for that, and we'll just call it a day. I guess we both know that isn't going to happen. You chose this path. Now I have a surprise for you. Deploying surprise in 5, 4...
But her morality core falls off while she's talking shit to you, and you are encouraged to pick it up and bring that puppy over to the incinerator conveniently placed directly behind her. This all is, of course, another very clever use of her tactic of reverse psychology. She instantly claims that she doesn't know what the thing is, never seen it before, and has absolutely no important function, making us, the player, think, oh, that thing's probably pretty important. It compels me to destroy it in hopes of kind of weakening her, but oops, you just unlocked the full lethality.
It was a morality core they installed after I flooded the enrichment center with a deadly neurotoxin to make me stop flooding the enrichment center with a deadly neurotoxin. So get comfortable while I warm up the neurotoxin emitters.
Man,
By redirecting
Portal
her
2
missile
is such a
turrets
good
back
game.
at her, you can knock off her remaining cores, incinerating them one by one, until she is just breaking into pieces.
contest.
I want to play Portal 2 again.
Thank you for assuming the party escort submission position.
I don't remember that part.
Now, this is kind of interesting. So in the launch edition of Portal way back in the day, the ending was right here, fading to black in the parking lot. But an updated version was patched in 2010 to actually restore the original idea of the ending and having Chell dragged back inside the facility by none other than the party escort bot. Because here you are, lying on the ground and assuming that position, so here comes your attendant. And I'm sorry to say, it turns out you didn't quite win after all. We see a warehouse seemingly full of cores and backup systems for GLaDOS, and of course, your cake. The end credits here are even incredible, featuring an extremely adorable song penned by GLaDOS just for you, claiming that she is indeed still alive.
This was a triumph. I'm making a note here, huge success. It's hard to overstate my satisfaction.
Now, like I mentioned, Portal 1 is very short, and it's more like a proof of concept, but the characterization of the villain is superb, and by far the strongest aspect of that game to this day. What's especially interesting, though, is that
we're pausing this and we're listening to... We're pausing this and we're listening to, we're listening to the Portal songs. Pay no attention to... Pay no attention. I definitely wasn't binging new VTuber 3D models with big titty. Like Shy Lily and Zendaya and Marion. Definitely not.
This was a triumph. I'm making a note here, huge success. It's hard to overstate my satisfaction. Aperture science. We do what we must because we can. For the good of all of us, except the ones who are dead. But there's no sense crying over every mistake. You just keep on trying till you run out of cake. And the science gets done and you make a neat gun for the people who are still alive. I'm not even angry. I'm being so sincere right now. Even though you broke my heart and killed me and tore me to pieces and threw every piece into a fire. As they burned, it hurt because I was so happy for you. Now these points of data make a beautiful line, and we're out of data, we're releasing on time. So I'm glad I got burned. Think of all the things we learned for the people who are still alive. Go ahead and leave me. I think I prefer to stay inside. Maybe you'll find someone else to help you. Maybe Black Mesa. That was a joke. Haha, that chance. Anyway, this take is great. It's so precious noise. Look at me still talking when there's science to do. When I look up there, it makes me glad I'm not you. I've experiments to run. There is research to be done on the people who are still alive. Then believe me, I'm still alive. I'm doing science and I'm still alive. I feel fantastic and I'm still alive. While you're dying, I'll be still alive. And when you're dead, I will be still alive. Still alive. Still alive.
That was a joke. Haha.
Well, here we are again. It's always such a pleasure. Remember when you tried to kill me twice? Oh, how we laughed and laughed. Except I wasn't laughing. Under the circumstances, I've been shockingly nice. You want your freedom, take it. That's what I'm counting on. I used to want you dead, but now I only want you gone. She was a lot like you, maybe not quite as heavy. Now little Carolyn is into you too. One day they woke me up, so I could live forever. It's such a shame the same will never happen to you. You got your shorts and everything. That's what I'm counting on. I'll let you
I'm doing pretty good, Chesh. How are you? Welcome in.
I only want you gone. Goodbye, my only friend. Oh, did you think I meant you? That would be funny if it weren't so sad. Well, you have been replaced. I don't need anyone now. When I delete you, maybe I'll stop feeling so bad. Go make some new disaster. That's what I'm counting on. You're someone else's problem. Now I only want you gone. Now I only want you gone. Now I only want you gone.
Yeah, those are such good songs. You know what? I'm gonna replay the Portal games. Trying to hunt out some drowned. Oh, what you playing? Yeah, I've decided I'm gonna replay the Portal games because they are good. And I love them. Oh, Minecraft trying to farm tridents.
This was a triumph. I'm making a note here, huge success. It's hard to overstate my satisfaction. Aperture science. We do what we must because we can. For the good of all of us, except the ones who are dead. But there's no sense crying over every mistake. You just keep on trying till you run out of cake. And the science gets done and you make a neat gun for the people who are still alive. I'm not even angry. I'm being so wish you'd stayed. There's a party with a real cake. Yes, it's real, a cake I made. Talking and fun, testing and fun, all of this fun without you. Too bad you let it get so out of hand. How much we had, finally I understand. But you wouldn't know, would you?
I love this song.
You wouldn't know, would you?
Makes me want to play Lego Dimensions. This is horrifying. the realistic dog mouth inside the cartoonish thing I've drawn over top of it. It's kind of horrifying. Also, these should be probably like up here instead of, because they're not on the side, they're like on the top, so I have to redraw those, I guess. I didn't know Galactus was the final boss of Lego Dimensions. Makes me want to play it in the comics. I've never seen someone panic quite as much as a gamer who's playing Pearl and hears the turret sound while they're playing a game. portal jump scare.
GLaDOS apparently didn't even exist when the game was like over halfway finished. In a really good interview with PC Magazine, developer Robin Walker said that when they were playtesting a huge portion of the final product, players had kind of a hard time understanding what the point was, so they knew they had to add a sort of guide, and more so, a villain. So they created exactly that, an overseer who helps you along in the beginning and then eventually pushes against your progress. I would say the final result is absolutely glorious. But to be honest, I think it's really Portal 2 where the character and her role as a villain become really, really interesting, nuanced, and timeless. So the sequel opens with you again, taking control of Chell, and being awoken every 50 days inside of your new prison. I mean, long-term relaxation chamber, excuse me. So you get up, stretch, and lie back down, but something goes terribly wrong, and when you are awoken next, the amount of time elapsed is unknown. But you can be sure it's a long-ass time. Years and years and years. Some people even say thousands of years. So in Portal 2, same question. Where is GLaDOS? What is she up to? Well, technically she's dead because you killed her. And it's actually Wheatley, a sprightly little bastard who looks strangely similar to some of those personality cores, who wakes you up.
Please prepare for emergency evacuation.
Stay calm, stay calm, prepare.
Hello,
That's all I'm saying,
Wheatley.
prepare. It's all fine, alright? Don't move, I'm gonna get us out of here. Oh, you might want to hang on to something. Word of advice, up to you.
This guy becomes a huge character here in the sequel. He's a really charming little dickwad, I gotta admit. I like him. And together, you make your way through a decaying, overgrown aperture that has absolutely seen better days. And it's really
Whoa,
cool
what
to
happened?
see those early test chambers from the original game,
What
but
the hell
all
was that?
busted up. And then, before you know it, you are moseying past the broken body of what was once GLaDOS. Wheatley carefully guides you through and in an attempt to find an escape pod to a room full of switches. Well, of course, the little spitball bungles this shit up terribly and turns everything back on, including restoring power to you-know-who.
Uh-oh.
Power up initiated.
Okay, don't panic, alright? Stop panicking. I can still stop this. Oh, there's a password. Okay, it's fine. I'll just hack it. Not a problem. A. C. Wait, did I do B? Okay, start writing these down.
Power up complete.
I don't. Okay, listen. All right, new plan. Act natural. Done nothing wrong. Hello.
Oh, it's you.
You know her?
It's been a long time. How have you been? I've been really
Oh man, the hatred in her voice when she says, "Oh, it's you."
A. C. Wait, did I do B? Okay, start writing these down.
Power up complete.
I don't. Okay, listen. All right, new plan. Act natural. Done nothing wrong. Hello.
Oh, it's you.
You know her?
It's been
It's
a long time.
Ah, that
How have you
delivery is so
been?
good.
I've been really busy being dead. You know, after you murdered me.
You did what? Ah.
Yeah, the V8 did such a good job with GLaDOS.
No.
Okay, look, we both said a lot of things that you're going to regret. But I think we can put our differences behind us. For science, you monster. I will say, though, that since you went to all the trouble of waking me up, you must really, really love to test. I love it too. There's just one small thing we need to take care of first.
Now this is a great little reintroduction, but it's kind of unclear to me why she looks different. Pretty different, in fact. Now, of course, in real life, it's because they made a second game and kind of wanted to overhaul things, spruce up the designs, and make it a full-fledged experience here, you know? But in-game, I always think it's fun to try to justify things like this. So last time we saw her, she looked quite a bit flatter and was left up on the surface in the parking lot. So I think it's safe to say if Chell got dragged back down there, all those little backup cores and other bots around the place probably also retrieved her pieces and reassembled her here. So we can just say there was a new design involved too. I'd buy that, don't you? But this is immediately a more spiteful, bitter, and absolutely petty GLaDOS. She mentions that she saved herself by using a little bit of a quick save feature. So for the last X amount of years, again possibly thousands, she has been replaying the last few moments of her life over and over and over. So needless to say, she is delighted to see you. Now, of course, you know what this means. Back to the old grind, just like the glory days, gotta get those dopamine hits going for her again. But it's interesting to me how this character, being sort of a combination of human and machine, really sort of balances these things pretty well. Sure, she's bitter and upset, but she doesn't let it cloud her vision or execution much, like a machine. Her programming and purpose is still simply to test. She has to do it, and if anything, she seems to exude a sort of dark excitement, like a hungry predator finding her meal. It's a really neat characterization that I think is pulled off perfectly. And my good lord, GLaDOS is absolutely fucking hilarious in this game. It's insane. For this first section of Portal 2, she just roasts the absolute daylights out of Chell at the beginning and end of each of these chambers, calling you fat and stuff. I'm just gonna play some of my favorites for you now. Please
Void
enjoy
Taffy
these.
just resubscribed for 9 months. What we naming the baby Void to Taffies?
That's what it says. A
Lake,
horrible
hello.
person. We weren't even testing for that.
One of my best
Congratulations.
friends.
Not on the test. Most people
What are
emerge
we
from
gonna name
suspension
the baby?
terribly undernourished. I want to congratulate you on beating the odds and somehow managing to pack on a few
What
pounds.
is a good name for
Remember
Void
before when I
Cerberus
was
baby?
talking about smelly garbage standing around being useless? That was a metaphor. I was actually talking about you. I know that people with guilty consciences are more easily startled by loud noises. I'm sorry, I don't know why that went off. This next test does require some explanation. Let me give you the fast version. Let's give your parents a call right now.
Question is, how many eyes and heads it got? Good question. I
I'm
think
going to
since you
laminate your
have
skeleton and
so
pose you
many
in the lobby.
arms and
That way future
hands,
generations can learn from you
then
how not to have
I
your
think
unfortunate
our
bone
baby's
structure.
gonna have like
So all this time that
6
you're
heads,
back
like
and
in
you're
a
sent through
circle?
these chambers, GLaDOS is attempting to repair the facility a
Like
bit,
just
clean
heads
things up,
all the
and
way around,
wanting to restore it to its
facing in
former
all
glory. But
directions?
it's clear that the place is in, well, I guess you could say ancient shape, and what was once pristine, coke white and pretty is now just a rust jungle. So, stuck in the loop again, you must test. But slowly, Wheatley starts appearing again, damaged but not dead by any stretch. He's trying to reach you and help you out, wanting to escape together, but fearing GLaDOS' wrath, understandably. Until a moment presents itself and you are able to sleaze your way back into the long-forgotten back rooms of Aperture. Now here, we get to find some really interesting lore nuggets. I mean, this is really the first time any sort of solid backstory is shown to the player across both games, and it hits pretty hard. You come across the remnants of the Bring Your Daughter to Work Day celebration, and fascinatingly, the most successful little potato of all the dumb battery projects belongs to a child named Chell. Holy shit, man. Don't worry, we'll talk about some theories at the very end. So the new plan involves disarming GLaDOS, and you've probably learned her two most favorite weapons are neurotoxin and turrets. So you throw a defective turret as the model in the factory, and then satisfyingly give a nice neurotoxin generator haircut, and just like that, bada bing, GLaDOS should be nothing more than a glorified gaming PC, and it's time to confront her yet again.
I honestly, truly didn't think you'd fall for that. In fact, I devised a much more elaborate trap further ahead for when you got through this easy one. If I'd known you let yourself get captured this
gosh, I
easily,
love
I would have
Iris
just
so
dangled
much.
a turkey leg on a rope from the ceiling. Let's get to business. I hope you brought something stronger than a portal gun this time. Otherwise, I'm afraid you're about to become the immediate past president of the Being Alive Club.
I gotta say, GLaDOS is looking mighty fine here. I really think that's one of the main strengths that this villain has across both games visually. The manner in which she just hangs in this chamber. It gives her a real sense of power, a resonance of control and intimidation, and every time you come in here, you feel like a lowly meatbag tiptoeing into her lair to try and stop her. It's very effective design and extremely memorable. But in this meeting, when she's unable to use her usual means to intimidate or, in this case, kill you, she realizes that, damn, she might be in a bad spot.
It's me they're talking about.
To initiate a core transfer, please deposit substitute core in receptacle.
Floor transfer. Oh, you are kidding me.
But holy smokes, do we not understand how poorly this is about to go.
Stalemate resolved. Please return to the core transfer bay.
Here we go! Wait, what if this hurts? What if this really hurts? Ah, I didn't think of that.
Oh, it will. Believe me, it will.
Ah!
No, stop! No! 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 No!
Whoa! Would you look at this? Not too bad, eh? Giant robot. Massive. It's not just me right here. I am bloody massive, aren't I?
Of course, that damn Wheatley lets the power go to his head and turns completely into the villain himself, really for the rest of the game.
I did this. Tiny little Wheatley did this.
You didn't do anything. She did all the work.
Oh, really? That's what the two of you think, is it? Well, maybe it's time I did something then.
What are you doing?
No! No! No!
See that? That is a potato battery. It's a toy for children. And now she lives in it.
It's then revealed that Wheatley is one of the cores designed for GLaDOS to keep her under control, namely an intelligence dampening core. I mean, my boy is literally built to be an idiot. Now, if that ain't built different, I don't know what is.
Now who's a moron? Could a moron
do that?
You into this pit? Ah! Could a moron do that? No.
I love GLaDOS, I love Wheatley.
But it is here, in her new spud form, where the character really shines the brightest.
How are you holding up? Because I'm a potato. Oh, good. My slow clap processor made it into this thing. So we have that.
As you fall down into the ancient, sealed-off chambers of Aperture's heyday, you see her get grabbed by a bird and carried off, but don't worry, are able to find her sitting in that bird's nest. And the poor darling seems to have really developed a bit of a phobia. Now we have a wonderful, interesting, companion version of GLaDOS, stripped of her seat of dominance and with considerably less wattage. She offers really nice commentary, talks to you, and honestly softens up a lot. Now this is just my interpretation, but when she is in this state, this seems like Carolyn, or at least as close to her as we get in the series. Just as Wheatley is corrupted by the programming of the master system and now desires to test and act evil as hell, GLaDOS, when removed, reverts to a more normal state. She's funny, charming, and really at no point threatening to kill you or trick you. It's very interesting. Now down here, in the original Aperture test chambers, is where we finally get to learn all about Cave Johnson. It's his pre-recorded greetings for the old test subjects of the golden years that teach us about the history of the facility, the struggles against Black Mesa, the progression of his illness, and the plan to have Carolyn take his place.
Your test assignment will vary depending on the manner in which you have bent the world to your will. Those of you helping us test the repulsion gel today, just follow the blue line on the floor.
Needless to say, it's an extremely haunting experience to explore all these old wood-paneled lobbies and work areas amidst the rust and rock of what is surely an area miles below the surface. You progress from what seems to be the 50s era to the 60s, the 70s, with the nice Aperture logo redesign, and eventually, Potato GLaDOS takes note of Cave.
The testing area is just up ahead. The quicker you get through, the quicker you'll get your $60.
Hold on.
Carolyn, are the compensation vouchers ready?
Yes, sir, Mr. Johnson. Boy, did I just... Who is that? What the hell is going on here?
It even takes note of Carolyn.
You know what?
Carolyn.
You know what? I'm sure we all know the plot of Portal 2 already, but I want to replay 1 and 2, so I want this to be as fresh as possible in my head.
It's so easy to like mess up these quest lines and just have characters disappear. But
That's it. That bit just there. Go on. Get a little closer.
Do you have any connection to Patches the Hyena? I trust not. He is a depraved, vile man, and he deserves no ally.
I'm definitely gonna replay Portal 1 and 2.
Upstanding hero such as yourself is selective when making associations.
well, what have we here? Patches the Hyena, Trusty Patches, Patches the Spider, Unbreakable Patches, the list goes on. Who in the hell is this bald, sneering, devious goblin of a man who squats across multiple games in the Souls series? Welcome, my friends, back to the Villainpedia. Patches has long been a favorite of mine, and while he's not an epic, large-scale villain or anything like that, his specific brand of evil is unique, it's charming, definitely irritating, and it's certainly unforgettable. As stated in the Lautrec video, these Souls games rarely have characters with clear intentions, or backstories, or even personalities, and Patches is definitely no exception. But unlike Lautrec, we have a character named Patches in every game. Well, almost, kinda, sorta. Is this, in fact, the same person? Or is it a sort of a spirit, a title? Why does he continue to trick people into certain death? And why do we keep falling for it? Well, to be honest, I have no clue, but let's learn all we can here together. So get yourself into a nice comfortable squat, bring your snacks and prism stones, and let's dive in. And remember to like the video down below if you like it, and subscribe for more Villainpedia, Heropedia, and other videos that are just like this.
Oh, yes. Now, it wasn't me, but you still deserve an apology. Just a little trinket. Go ahead. It's yours now.
Well, for starters, the name Patches is sort of unusual. It sort of sounds like a pirate, or honestly like a pet of some kind. While most other characters in these games have proper sounding names, this is almost like a nickname to me, and I always took it to be representative of what Patches does to us. He screws us over completely and then attempts to patch things up, offering items for sale, a pat on the back, and sincerest apologies. So maybe his behavior has affected enough folks for this sort of nickname to kind of stick. It's just a thought though, because the name has an unlikely From Software origin that you actually might not expect. You might think that the history of Patches would start with Demon Souls, the first Souls game released in 2009, but From Software has taken many things from their pre-Souls days and stuck them in here and there. But in Armored Core 4, there's literally an enemy you encounter called Patch the Lucky. Patch the Lucky is a neutral sort of mercenary character recruited in opposition of the player. He snipes from far distances and even from stealth, and two key characteristics of Patch are that he fights like a coward and he loses like a coward.
Wait, I give up! Hey, I'm just following orders here. If he's pulled out, why should I?
He's quick to surrender, leaving it up to the player to either finish him off or let him go. So, I mean, if you know Patches from the Souls games, they obviously didn't just carry the name over as a shout-out. These are key traits that would endure into the future.
I see why Barry's always up on the Armored Core 6 train.
To the good stuff. And the first appearance of Patches as Patches the Hyena in Demon Souls. Demon Souls is the game that established many of the norms of the series we now appreciate as staples, like a hub world that acts as a sort of home base during the adventure, and of course that trademark speckling of the world with interesting characters to encounter. The level structure here is a bit different from Dark Souls, however, if you've never played it, with the hub of the Nexus holding stones that represent each world, sort of like a Mario game, with the worlds and levels within. So it isn't until 2.2 that you're able to encounter Patches the Hyena. Or if you're like me and you played through the whole game and then were asked about Patches when, I saw him once and he vanished. There was more? I didn't know. I love these games to death, but it's so easy to mess up these quest lines and just have characters disappear. But if you should encounter Patches in this proper way, he'll say,
"Ooh, you're not mad like the rest, are you? Well, what jolly travelling companions are we, eh? Pleased to meet you. Call me Patches. Ooh, see that treasure over there? Go on and take it. My gift to you, just to show that we're friends."
And I think at this point, probably 90% of players know that this guy's probably not the most trustworthy. It's just something in his voice, man. He's overly jolly to see you. But, I mean, you have to go see what the item is, right? I mean, it's right there. So is the big old fat bear bug, of course, but I mean, the item, I'm gonna have to at least see what's going on. And that instinct right there is what Patches is designed to prey upon.
Who'd have thought it? Bear bugs. My apologies. It's just not your day. As promised, the treasure is all yours. If you survive, that is. Good luck to you.
Even in a video game as hard as Demon's Souls, where death could mean tons of progress lost, curiosity always gets the best of us, doesn't it? This is truly the genius of the placement of Patches. So, okay, he traps the player and you're forced to fight your way out with just this weak-ass club as your hyped-up treasure. And Patches is alarmed to find you confronting him again.
You? You're no joke, are you? Worry not. The treasure is all yours.
When you next encounter him, he's found a nice little home in the Nexus.
Well, I remember you. Well, I'm glad you're here. I found some really tasty trinkets. Well, we've long been acquainted, so I'll give you a good price, eh?
Check out that squat. Here, he acts as an actually extremely useful vendor. He sells some stupidly overpriced stuff, but also super cheap healing grass, which you may know are a fine thing to have access to in Demon's Souls. There ain't no Estus Flask in this game, boy. But you also may not be surprised to learn that he hasn't quite put his old ways behind him. By the time you reach 4-2 in the Shrine of Storms, Baldi is back at it again with the same old shtick.
Oh, hello again.
Bring it to PC.
Hey, don't turn a cold shoulder. I didn't mean to do you wrong, really. Come on now. We've got better things to fret about. That pit there is filled with treasure. But, I'm having a little trouble getting to it myself. Go on, take a look. There are more riches than you could dream of. What's keeping you? Have a look at that treasure down in the pit. Then we'll think up a way to fish it out.
Is this still aligned how it should be? It is.
Rats. Tricked again, eh? But this time, Patches lets a little bit more of his sinister side show. Down in the hole, though, you're not so alone. Here you meet a certain holy man, one Saint Urbane, another character that Patches has tricked and tossed in the hole with promises of great treasure. You also notice all these shiny rocks all around, of course placed by Patches to light the joint up and look sparkly and treasury. It's just good atmosphere, okay? But Urbane is representative of a certain resentment that Patches seems to hold. More on that in a moment. So you can free the holy man and make your way back up to Patches where, yep, he's gonna try to soothe you. This guy is literally the embodiment of, it was just a prank, bro.
Hey, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean what I said. Well, a man's got to make a living, right? Here, look, I can make up for it. There aren't many humans like us. We need to stick together. I know. Have this as a token of my friendship. Not bad, right?
After his final apology, Patches returns again to the Nexus and continues peddling his wares. And here's where we get some interesting dirt on his feelings toward the religious folks around, just like Saint Urbane.
Jaquilian loves Patches. I don't understand why.
Priest and his disciples over there.
Maybe this one gives us some insight.
They've blown that incident at the shrine far out of proportion. Shouldn't they believe in forgiving and forgetting and all that? Well, I have news for them. Praying never put food in my mouth, nor anyone else's.
Damn. I mean, I guess being in such a harsh, cold world where he has resorted to trapping, killing, and looting to survive has jaded this dude quite a bit. He's fatalistic as hell and sees religion as a frivolous waste of time that does more harm than good. But this is really good groundwork for the character and how he would act in future games. From here, Patches just kind of chills out and sells you the grass. But it's interesting to me how in tune with the world he is. As you progress, he always has something to say, and he even warns you about yurt and stuff like that. He's no dummy, that's for damn sure. In Dark Souls, perhaps the most well-known version of Patches graces your playthrough. This, of course, is Trusty Patches. And so this already begs the question, is this the same guy? Well, this video is not going to go on some Soulsborne timeline tangent to try and justify multiple bald dudes named Patches, but basically, I believe, in essence, yes, it is the same guy, and in actuality, not so much. In an interview with Miyazaki, the game director, about Dark Souls 1 launching, he was asked about Patches, now appearing in 3 games, this including Armored Core, and he responded, "Anyways, there's no connection. Officially, it's just a coincidence that they look alike. It's just for fun." Imagine that, it's just for fun. Because the developers, I think, kind of like this archetype and like this character, and just thought it would be fun to have him pop up here and there. However, this is Dark Souls, baby, so there are lore points and whatnot out there for anyone wishing to connect dots and make an argument one way or the other within the game universe. And things get more interesting in this regard with his appearance later in the series. So anyways, to Dark Souls. So Dark Souls in world design is similar, but now it's all wide open and connected. It's not so simple as approach stone, go to area. This openness makes encountering NPCs an even more delightful experience. It feels less like they are placed there for you to find, and more that you just happen upon them. But there's not much delightful about encountering Trusty Patches for the first time.
Good day. You look reasonably the same. What are you doing in the catacombs?
Oh my god, the water sound is so loud.
Well, that's strange. Oh, I know what it is. You've come for the trinkets, haven't you?
But I think it's really cool that they kept bringing back the same voice actor every time, William Vanderpue. He does a great job at sounding sinister, a little bit charming, and opportunistic. Knight Lautrec, who has his own Villainpedia, even expresses caution about Patches. Now that's saying something. But here, it's kind of more of the same, but with an amped up hatred for clerics. He is even so bold as to ask you if you are a cleric. And this has some repercussions as far as his potential hostility. When you first happen upon him, it's in the catacombs area, hanging out by a lever that controls a bridge.
This place is treacherous. Do you watch your step?
Of course, once you try to cross this bridge, it's down you go. And you can kind of see like a sprinkling of items down there to suggest that he's done this to several people now. And just like Patches the Hyena, when you come back to him, he's like, "Oh, haha, yeah, my bad, dude."
Oh, well, how are you then? I slipped and flipped that lever, you see. It didn't cause you any trouble, by chance?
I hate the pink bucket.
Oh, really? Yes, I see. Rightio. Then everything's good, isn't it? I'm Trusty Patches, the one and only. You and I, just a couple of undead outcasts. Right, my darling?
Later on, further down into the Tomb of Giants, it's almost like an instant replay of Demon Souls, a pit aglow with shiny rocks.
Well, well. You've been a stranger. Good to see you well, mate. All right. You came at the perfect time. There's a fine stash of treasure right down that hole. I found it first, but we're friends now. I'll split it with you, in any case. Have a look. It'll shimmer you blind.
That laugh. Why is this garbage? Why is the paint bucket so bad?
The trinkets I'll be stripping off your corpse, that's the real treasure.
And here we find some clerics, holy folks that have been tricked by Patches and left to die. It's the Lady Rhea of Thorland, another NPC that had been traveling with some pilgrim bros, but her pilgrim bros who got pushed down here with her have turned hollow and they need to be taken care of. Patches is yet again shocked to see you alive, standing in front of him.
Oh, you! Well, let's just calm down. Talk about things. I did you wrong, but I didn't mean it. These temptations.
Yes, I've died from the horrible pink
Overcome
bucket.
me. You know what I mean? don't you? Please, forgive me. You and me, we're jolly undead outcasts, aren't we?
And to just cap off the similarities to Patches the Hyena, he then becomes a merchant and Firelink Shrine, squatting conveniently close to a cliff that I assume he wants to push someone off at some point in the future. I just think Trusty Patches is so iconic that even if this was the sole appearance of the character, he would still be a cult favorite minor little villain. Dark Souls was such a breakout success, and with such a mysterious story and world, the characters that you can talk to are really the only concrete thing to hold on to, making each of them exceptionally impactful and memorable with us hanging on to their every single word.
Just nod your head and keep him on your side.
Dark Souls 2 has long been the black sheep of the series, in several ways, and Patches as a named entity being absent did not go unnoticed to Souls fans. What we do have, however, is a pair of characters that I find very interesting, named Creighton and Pate. Characters that I believe are meant to represent sort of two halves of this character archetype, but I am sorry, friends. This is a topic that is getting its own video that I've already been sort of planning in the background here, so you will have to wait until a later date to get my full thoughts on those two psychos. So the next time that an actual Patches would be seen, it would be in the kind of lone wolf of the FromSoft games, Bloodborne. This setting and fantasy and world and everything really is completely different. It's not a Souls title, but it does use many similar systems and of course has a handful of things that link the games in big ways. Bloodborne is a game of Lovecraftian inspiration, cosmic horrors, beasts. I mean, it gets real weird real quick. And what better way to insert our dear Patches into the game than to rip his head off and put it on a spider? Yeah, this is definitely the most unique Patches. I mean, what the hell is happening with this man? Well, there are certain enemies in Bloodborne known as Nightmare Apostles. They are extremely unpleasant looking and not much better to encounter in a fight. Patches is essentially one of these, and it was very interesting for me when first playing and discovering the world of Bloodborne to learn that this Patches has some lore. You know, I didn't really expect that. So Patches the Spider was at some point some sort of scholar. There are many themes in this game about evolution and ascension to a higher plane of being, with these scholars at the school of Bergenworth and Mensis being in the thick of this research. Miyazaki, the game director, also said, and this comes from a quote in the game's official printed guide, "There are a lot of other Spider-Men in the game apart from Patches, but all the others have long since gone insane. Patches, despite being exposed to enough of the world's mysteries to be transformed into a monster, has still retained his sanity and is still continuing with his research." Okay, so what kind of research? Well, I can only assume that this means more research about this evolution, ascension, whatever you want to call it. And to really show you how different Patches the Spider is, he has picked up a bit of a god to worship. From cleric hatred to old god spider-looking ass zealot. What a twist. So this time, he has some specific motivation in his tricking of the player. His god, the Amygdala, is hungry for that hunter blood, and he wants to lead you to the slaughter. Bloodborne lore is super deep and very intimidating, and I'll be the first to admit that I am not an expert, so I'm going to try my best to stick to just Patches and his villainy for this. But after you defeat the boss Vicar Amelia and enter the Forbidden Woods, Patches will automatically replace all NPCs behind doors and windows in Central Yarnum, Cathedral Ward, and the Forbidden Woods. That alone is pretty damn freaky. This is all in an effort to track you down and thrust an item on you known as the Tonsil Stone. And here, upon first meeting him, he, as you would expect, promises something great at a certain location.
Step lightly round to the right of the great cathedral and seek an ancient, shrouded church. The gift of the Godhead will grant you strength. Yes, I'm unquestionably certain.
Same old Patches. Though at this point, I had no clue my first playthrough that this was Patches. Not yet anyway. Though it is, of course, the same voice actor. Through the following events, you go to this place, and instead of treasure or anything grand, you are captured by this Amygdala thanks to that damn Tonsil Stone.
Oh, Amygdala. Oh, Amygdala. Have
I wonder
mercy
if
on
Jackie
the
knows
poor
about this.
bastard.
I don't remember her mentioning it or anything when she was playing Bloodborne. Any of the times she played Bloodborne.
And you're sent to the lecture hall. Here, Patches' big ol' head can be seen half through a broken window.
What a joy it is to behold the divine. It must be such a pleasure. You're in my debt, you know. You're nigh on a beast of the
Chinala
field.
the cute. Ah,
But here you are,
thank you.
treading a measure with the gods. Are your feet as fat as your wits? Oh, cease this dithering. Take the plunge. Throw yourself to the wolves.
So speaking to him here causes him to then appear in the Nightmare Frontier area later, where he does his classic Patches move and attempts to lure you to a cliffside primed for a pushing. Well, damn. All these years, Patches, and I'm still falling for you boo-boo. But finally, after killing the amygdala, amongst other things, you can corner this sketchy spider lad.
Now, wait just a moment. Do you think ill of me? Me? Oh, it pains me to hear it. You've made yourself a misreckoning. I shared with you a thing most secret. Now, you're witness to a miracle, and all the stronger for it. It's plain as a pikestaff. Now, say in my heart, you were as a lamb to my God. Well, you weren't to know, and it wasn't for you to know. All's well that ends well, I say.
And you again hold the decision at the end of this tale to either take him out for his treachery or let him go and perhaps get some goods from it. And he can show up as a vendor within certain Chalice dungeons. Patches the Spider has a crazy presence in this game, and if you know or understand any more about this, please share with me in the comments, because Bloodborne lore just kind of goes over my head. So before we get to the final appearance of Patches, let's just assume for a moment that this is in fact the same man, somehow surviving through space, time, the deaths and rebirths of countless kingdoms and lands in the Dark Souls universe. Because I honestly think that by the time Dark Souls 3 rolled around, that's kind of what From Software had decided for the character without saying as much. What started out as a fun inclusion and callback kind of turned into a huge cult favorite, and I'm sure even more so of the development team. So his finale, at least to date in Dark Souls 3, is chock full of heart, soul, and of course, more villainy. Dark Souls 3 is an epic conclusion to the Dark Souls trilogy in many ways, and I will never forget the first playthrough and uncovering all of these connective tissue things and locations. This game brilliantly toys with those expectations as well, though. In the Cathedral of the Deep area, you cross paths with a sturdy-looking Onion Knight.
Well, you look reasonably sane. I am a knight of Katarina. I've managed to track down this cathedral's store of treasure. It's right over there, across that narrow part. Treasure? Always so close, yet so far. I'm in quite a pickle, indeed.
Why is it broken?
Could it be Sigurd, a jolly cooperator and friend of the player that we've already met? Ah, okay, good to see you, Sigurd. I'll just cross this bridge.
That's not broken. What happened to the video?
Son of a bitch. Yeah, I got tricked
a-
and left to
it
get
was a
yammered
bit
by these
easier.
giants. And it was a pretty good impression of Sigurd, too. Patches jacked the armor
Everything's
from our
working
onion
except
homie,
for
and Sigurd is
Hut.
busy hiding in the well outside of this area, naked as the day he was born.
Be right back.
First to admit it that I've been had. Someone's swiped my armor.
Be right back.
Stripping an Onion Knight of his armor is perhaps the most evil deed to date for Patches, man. You just don't do that.
Huh? Yes, hello. Oh, I don't believe we've met. I'm Patches. Unbreakable Patches. You seem to be unkindled. Do you have business with me? Oh, yes, of course. It's coming back to me now. Oh, I'm so sorry. That was my hand, as you know. But the deed, well, that was the armor's doing. Regrettable, truly. But behold, I'm stripped clean of that unruly attire. And look at you. Not a scratch.
But there is an alternative way to meet Patches, which is for some reason the path I took my first time, and you can buy the tower key for that mysterious tower behind Firelink Shrine. Patches traps you and does his usual business before then becoming a vendor all the same.
Sorry, friend.
2 hours later.
Ah, you're alive. Now, hold your horses.
The box works. If the box works, the hug should work.
But here is something unusual and not seen before from Patches. He seems to have a friend, and it's the other vendor, Grey Rat, that stays around Firelink Shrine, stinking up the joint. It's interesting, as we have never really seen him have anything but enemies in past games. Grey Rat occasionally will kind of leave and go scrounge around for new items to sell you, and Patches always asks after him. Now, at a certain point, Grey Rat heads to Irithyll and faces some certain danger. He can either be saved by Siegward, if you returned that onion armor to the naked fellow in the well, or by Patches, who dons the onion armor himself to save his friend, whom he refuses to admit he cares about. Interesting, man. Very interesting. I'm not quite sure what to make of this, to be honest. He wanted to help the little fella out, but he didn't want Grey Rat to see that it was him. Decided to pass the glory on to the Onion Man. And all of this is backed up by Grey Rat telling us that he was saved by an Onion Knight, regardless of who is going to go save him.
Patches the extend your car warranty
for that
caller.
peculiar Onion Knight. But in the end, it all paid off.
So there's a little bit of depth here. It seems like if Patches has seen all of these worlds rise and fall, he's starting to slow down a bit as far as his killer instinct, starting to make friends even. Maybe that's why the name Unbreakable Patches is given to him, some sort of compensation, who knows. So it's a short appearance here, but From Software saved the absolute best for last. In the Ringed City DLC, which is incredible, you are transported forward in time, essentially to the end of the world. The atmosphere and environments are just insanely cool, and here in this wasteland of castles upon castles, you encounter a knight sitting alone.
Oh, look at you. You've got your head screwed on, correct? Fantastic. To meet a kindred spirit on this god's forsaken crag. Call me Lab. I can't remember my real name, so let's just go with that. I have a feeling we're going to make a fabulous team. Oh, you'll see. You'll see. Oh, in all honesty, there's something I should tell you. I'm a hollow. Yes. I try to play it off. But I haven't a clue about my past, who I was, or what I lived for. Not even my own blessed name.
That voice sounds sort of familiar, doesn't it? I can't quite place it. I mean, this fine lad has lost all of his memory and is seeking this purging monument. The dialogue is just so good that I want to let this little quest line speak for itself. So I'll see you in a minute.
Don't mind me. You needn't worry yourself with this nonsense. I just wanted to tell someone.
Why is the hug not showing up?
I'm sick of old Humpty. I should stay quiet. Wait, I'll make it up to you. By letting you in on a secret of sorts. Past here, you'll find the remains of a giant earthen tower, half submerged in a poisonous swamp. Not a very nice place to visit. Only, there's precious treasure in the thick of the swamp. I didn't have any use for it, you see. So, sorry, I left the whole package behind. If I get the chance, I could go fetch it for you.
There it is.
But if that's too long to wait, go nab it for yourself. I know who you are. A righteous warrior. Yes? With a solemn duty to boot.
Yes, I had to
grab
reset
that treasure. That's as good a duty as any. Oh, Well, fancy meeting you here. A true blessing that
Sorry,
we should
Alex.
seek the same place
I
and
don't know why
find
it broke.
ourselves standing here together. I've got the last of my brew. Let's have our own little toast with it. To my search, and to your duty, and to the joy that lies before us. Once I find it, everything will come back to me. Who I was, what I lived for, what my name was, and what terrible grudges I held. I don't know. I just have this feeling that that's the kind of man I was. Oh, don't hold it against me. I only think I was. Oh, and here we are again. How goes things? I'm rather running in circles, I'm afraid. I can't find the purging monument, and I've searched high and low. What if it was never here in the first place? Oh, bloody hell. What do I know? It won't be long now before I
Yeah,
know
I
everything.
think unless I
Who I
want
was,
to,
what I lived for, and what my name was.
unless
And
I
I'll
want to
have you
add
to thank for
teeth
it
all
all.
along the sides, I think I'm done.
Ah, thank you. Most sincerely. I swear upon my birth name that I am your friend. No matter what might come out, no matter what I was, if you would do me the honor, allow me to be a true friend. Always. Oh, finally, you've come. Now I know exactly who I was. And for that, I've a little thanks to be giving. Go this way and peep past the broken staircase. Some awfully fine treasures just sitting there all alone. It'll change your life. Every age, it seems, is tainted by the greed of men. Rubbish to one such as I, devoid of all worldly wants. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way we are. I'll stick you in my prayers. A fine dark soul to you.
What an awesome moment, not only for Patches and fans of the series, but for its director Miyazaki. This was really his character, and it almost feels like he's reaching to us through Patches to say goodbye after all these amazing games. It's also definitely noteworthy that he doesn't kick you into like a chasm or an area leading to certain death, just a little drop, and it actually leads to the way out. So maybe he remembered that promise, to remain friends no matter what memories may arise. This lap questline is one of my absolute favorite things in any of the games, and it kind of confirms that Patches is this enduring spirit. I mean, he doesn't hollow until the very end of the world, and still has the wherewithal to search for an answer to his issue. And despite being a capable adventurer, which is made evident by the locations he's able to reach during this lap quest, he chooses to let others do the work for him still. Clever bastard. Patches is an unforgettable villain for anyone who has played these games. In the Lautrec video, I talked about how his design is meant to represent, malevolent players you might encounter online in Dark Souls. He teaches the player to not be quick to trust, and I think Patches holds a similar purpose. In his final speech, he talks about human greed, how it's sort of inevitable. And though he's the one to impart this knowledge, he is the greatest servant of greed in the game, literally trapping and killing people to loot their corpses. I also think he has the greatest understanding of the zeitgeist in each game. In Dark Souls, where the Age of Gods is dying and falling apart, he hates clerics and religion. In Bloodborne, where the cosmic great ones have the world under thumb, he's a worshipper and servant. And Spider. In this series, more than any other, villainy and evil are mostly a perspective. We call Patches a villain because we're at the butt end of his tricks, but what he is above all else is a survivor. Thanks everyone for watching and listening to the end. It truly means a lot. Shout out to my first 4 patrons here listed on the screen. Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions on Patches down below, and look forward to many, many more videos in the near and distant future. Thanks again, everyone, and until next time, peace.
My son, the day you were born,
No,
the very
Arthas.
forests of Lordaeron whispered the name
Arthas.
Arthas.
Oh, the Wrath of the Lich King cinematic is so fucking good.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Villainpedia. This entry is sort of a part
Yeah. Yeah. We're watching this. We're watching this. We're watching this. Blizzard's stinky, but this is really fucking good.
My son, the day you were born, the very forests of Lordaeron whispered the name Arthas.
Oh, this cinematic is so fucking good. Still gives me chills. So good.
My child, I watched with pride as you grew into a weapon of righteousness.
It's so good.
Remember, our line has always ruled with wisdom and strength. And I know you will show restraint when exercising your great power.
I love this cinematic so much. Sindragosa. Look at her. She's so beautiful.
But the truest victory, my son, is stirring the hearts of your people. I tell you this, for when my days have come to an end, you shall be king.
I love that cinematic so much. It's so good. Why'd Blizzard have to get so stinky? Why'd they have to ruin World of Warcraft? Okay. We'll watch
to the story of Arthas, which began with the Heropedia entry for him, so start there first if you haven't already. The full Arthas life story beginning to end won't be covered here, but we will pick up with him from when he picks up the blade Frostmourne. So the Lich King is perhaps the greatest character in the history of the Warcraft universe, or at the very least, the most recognizable. The story of Arthas becoming the Lich King is what fueled the craze of Warcraft 3 and led the fandom to the moon with the release of World of Warcraft and a build-up to an eventual confrontation with the Fallen Prince. He really is the ultimate Warcraft villain in my opinion. But the story of the Lich King actually does not begin with Arthas. So sit back everyone, get some snack, get some juice, and relax, because I think it's going to be a long one. And remember to like the video down below if you like it, and subscribe for more videos that are just like this one.
Damn the men! Nothing shall prevent me from having my revenge, old friend. Not even you.
The Lich King is not simply evil Arthas, far from it. It's something much more mystical and complex, and Arthas is really just one piece that makes up the character. But don't worry, like I said, we will pick up with Arthas where we left him when the time comes. Our story starts far from Azeroth and Lordaeron with Kil'jaeden, an ancient Eredar demon lord that stood post as a chief lieutenant of the Burning Legion, and eventually even its de facto leader. The Burning Legion is a pretty big topic, but if you're watching this video, I'm sure you know the basic principles of their existence. A force of demons, infernals, and cast-aside races seeking to undo order in the universe and add to their numbers with reckless abandon. Kil'jaeden's counterpart lieutenant, Archimonde, was tasked with leading the armies of demons, while Kil'jaeden was meant to manipulate certain races of life forms into joining their cause. He was given the nickname, the Deceiver, for this very ability. Before Kil'jaeden was a big demon master dude, however, he was a friend and close ally of Velen, the man who would save his people from the Burning Legion and give them a home on the planet of Draenor, a name that literally means exile's refuge. Kil'jaeden definitely had some bad blood with his former race of people, and especially Velen, and while scouting out the universe for potential warriors for his legion, he stumbled upon the shamanistic orcs that shared the world of Draenor with the now Draenei people. The Draenei and orcs were very different from each other, making the orcs obviously a natural point of interest for Kil'jaeden to pit against the Draenei. Kil'jaeden disguised himself as a sort of spiritual presence, an ancestor of the orcs, and went straight for the most respected of all the orcs that he could observe, and that was a fella who is vital to this story, named Ner'zhul. He got Ner'zhul to believe that the Draenei were plotting something big against the orcs, and even shared dark magical secrets with him in hopes to weaponize him. This deception worked as Ner'zhul began leading his people against the Draenei in raiding parties, pillaging and destroying, all that good stuff. Ner'zhul did all of this under the misconception of it being his ancestors' wishes, but at some point, Ner'zhul felt like something was off. He was a shaman at heart, and he felt the spirits kind of fall distant from him. This led him to the holy site of Oshu'gun to pray and ask for guidance. The real powers that be, not the phony-ass Kil'jaeden, appeared and scolded Ner'zhul for his barbarism. This was not their will, but the will of a deceiver. It was Kil'jaeden's own agenda that saw Ner'zhul as a pawn. Obviously enraged at this, Ner'zhul defied Kil'jaeden, but was quickly replaced by his eager, power-hungry apprentice. You may know this dude, Gul'dan. Kil'jaeden never forgot this act of defiance. Ner'zhul was stripped of his powers and forced to watch as Gul'dan led the orcs ruthlessly. Ner'zhul's life after this was rough, and honestly pretty eventful, but just bear with me for now, and let's time skip forward to the events right after the Second War in Azeroth. So by now, the orcs had been successfully weaponized by the Legion, and the dark portal constructed to link Draenor and Azeroth. Meanwhile, our boy Arthas is just like a teenager at the time. So at the end of the war, the dark portal had been destroyed by the Alliance, severing the link between Azeroth and Draenor. But in the explosion of the portal on the other side, Ner'zhul was critically wounded, and it would take months for him to recover. So let's just say at this point, our boy is in a pretty bad place mentally. He then went into isolation in Shadowmoon Valley with his clan until a guy named Terran Gorefiend approached him and asked him to again lead the Horde with Gul'dan now deceased. He also wanted Ner'zhul to open more portals for Orc conquest. Terran is a pretty awesome character actually, and actually the first ever Death Knight period, but again, a topic for his own video altogether. Now at this time, Ner'zhul was having many visions of death, like his own death and decay, and began painting his face with a white skull. Again, he's not mentally in a good place, but he also definitely desired to have power again, to lead, and to feel the magic of Draenor fill his bones. So he agreed to the task, and he definitely succeeded in opening many portals, but the amount of juice required to open so many portals would literally rip the planet of Draenor apart turning it into what we know as
Yeah,
Outland.
I think
Ner'zhul
we're
fled
done
with his
with
people
this,
before this
honestly,
destruction,
unless-
but there are also some tellings
unless
of
I
this
wanna
that
add more
state
teeth, I
Ner'zhul
think we're
abandoned the horde early and escaped with only his people. But at any rate, it doesn't really matter. He was able to step through one of these portals. And once inside, old Ner'zhul was met by an old acquaintance he probably would rather have avoided. Killed Jaden. Yep, killed Jaden, captures the old shaman and his followers,
Oh,
and
do I
tasked
wanna
the
add neck
Dreadlords
fluff, though?
with torturing the
Do I
orc
wanna add
until
some
his
neck fluff?
body was completely obliterated, leaving only his broken spirit. He then understandably agreed to serve kill Jaden, as the alternate option would have been eternal suffering. Can't really blame you, dude. Ner'zhul's spirit was then encased into a block of ice harder than steel, and he instantly felt his consciousness, his awareness, and his power rapidly expand. He now was no longer the orc Ner'zhul, but an entity of much further reach and power. He was the Lich King, baby. Along with his spirit, 2 relics were encased with him: the sword Frostmourne that Arthas would eventually scour the land of Northrend for, and the Helm of Domination, along with some other armor pieces. Apparently, these items were crafted by the Jailer and the Rune Carver in Shadowlands, but I mean, in Warcraft 3, Tichondria states that the sword was crafted by the Lich King to harvest souls, so I don't know what modern Blizzard's doing, man. I can't imagine the original writers watching this all happen. Through this new entity of the Lich King, a master of death and decay, a plan was formed to weaken the world of Azeroth to make it ripe for the Legion's taking. This block of ice was sent hurtling through the Dark Beyond to crash land in a cold, desolate part of the world of Azeroth, the perfect staging area for the Lich King to begin his work under cover of ice and snow. And just like that, I mean, the Lich King's arrived. And though we're not quite yet back to Arthas and his path to evil, I just think it's really cool how the Burning Legion experimented with using these orcs of Draenor to invade Azeroth, but they just kind of sucked ass and kept fighting amongst each other instead of sticking to the plan. So they said, okay, let's just get the coolest orc, torture him, and put him into an ice cube and give him necromancy powers. That sound good? And I mean, honestly, it would end up being an excellent plan, at least in theory. But just to be safe, the Dreadlords would tag along as sort of jailers to monitor the Lich King's progress and make sure he didn't try any funny business, of course, as Ner'zhul was known to have betrayed Kill Jaden once already. So for the first several years that the Lich King lay trapped in his ice in Northrend, he experimented with his necromancy and telepathic abilities on local wildlife and even the indigenous races, all the while the frozen throne he now inhabited served as a beacon
I'm
of death.
Make this
The plague that oozed from this man's ice cube out into the landscape slowly began turning all life around into undead servants of the Lich King. And as the souls would begin to pile up, the Lich King would also engage with the Nerubians in a conflict known as the War of the Spider. These dudes were actually immune to the plague.
Let's go back to
after
some
killed by
music. Alright, so I am going to be making this an animated emote, and I'm also going to put it on top of this somehow. So I guess I need to draw a background. I guess I do need to draw some sort of background, but I don't really feel like doing that today. That's gonna take a while. I might do that off stream. Can I make this full screen? I don't think I can. Eee, get your nose out of the door. Get your nose off the doorbell. Alright, we'll save this for now, and we'll raid somebody. And I'll draw a background later. What was I doing? Yeah, I'm looking for someone to raid. That's right. Let's see, who's online? I'm gonna be raided in a while. Oh, I wanted to raid Shark-Sided the other day. So we're gonna raid them today.
Every day I work hard.
No. Bow, 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 bow. Alright, everybody, thank you so much for coming to the stream today. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. We're going to be raiding my friend Shark-Sided today. Please show him some love, give him a follow. They got a really cute new Live 2D avatar or model. It's super cute. You can copy that first raid message for me if you are subbed or want to use channel points. Otherwise, you can copy that second one there. Join the Discord as well, if you would. I'd appreciate it. You'll get going live notifications. And, you know, there's not a ton going on in there right now, but I'm hoping to get it more active. I might start doing Monster Hunter nights in there with the community. Some community hunting, maybe, perhaps, if we have enough people interested. But yeah, I'll be working on and posting my schedule for next week pretty soon. You'll be able to find that on Twitter, as well as in my Discord. Okay, that's enough. It's driving me a little insane now. But yeah, I hope you all have a great night, and I'll see you again probably on Monday. But I'll have to make my schedule, so keep an eye out.